bone-chilling temperatures blasting the northeast corridor.
Unmistakably resembling Jesus Christ, the silhouette was so fortunately, the exact city was not mentioned. There was a giant grapple, the 2 stone tablets of the law given to Prophet Moses by God.
12 hours ago, something impossible happened in Times Square. Not a bombing, not a shooting, something that made seasoned NYPD officers kneel in the street. The surveillance footage is being deleted as fast as it uploads, but what 3,000 witnesses saw at 3:33 a.m. has already begun spreading across emergency channels nationwide. And if the pattern holds, if what happened in Nevada, Michigan, and now Manhattan continues, then by tomorrow morning, nowhere in America will be untouched by what's coming. The first call came in at 3:31 a.m. A taxi driver named Mohammed Rahal stopped his cab at 42nd and Broadway, not because of traffic. The road ahead had changed. Where asphalt should have been, there was water, crystal clear, perfectly still, reflecting not the neon above, but stars that shouldn't be visible through Manhattan's light pollution. 2 minutes later, every screen in Times Square went dark. Then they displayed something that made no sense. Hebrew text, ancient script that linguistics professors would later identify as pre-Babylonian. But here's what nobody's talking about. Every person who could read Hebrew saw different words, personal messages, names of loved ones who died, dates that hadn't happened yet, warnings written in a language most Americans have never studied. Officer Patricia Hendricks was first on scene, 22 years on the force. She radioed dispatch at 3:34 a.m. The recording still exists, though the NYPD denies it. Her voice stays professional for exactly 12 seconds. Then she whispers something that makes no sense. The ground is singing. By 3:40 a.m., the water had risen, not flooding, not flowing, rising straight up, forming walls of perfect transparency around the entire square. Thousands of people trapped inside what looked like an aquarium with no glass. They could breathe, they could move, but when they tried to leave, they couldn't. Not because something stopped them, because they didn't want to anymore. Here's what the news won't tell you. Every person inside that water barrier experienced the same thing. They saw their lives, not memories, their actual lives happening again, compressed into moments. Every choice, every consequence, every path not taken. Some fell to their knees, others laughed. A few tried to run deeper into the water, chasing something only they could see. The event lasted exactly 40 minutes. At 4:13 a.m., the water collapsed, not drained, collapsed. It fell upward, rising into the still dark sky like reverse rain. The screens returned to normal. The streets were dry. If not for the witnesses, the cell phone footage, the traumatized officers, it would be easy to claim nothing happened. But something did happen, because every person who was inside that water barrier changed. They don't sleep anymore. Not can't, don't. They say they're waiting. When pressed about what they're waiting for, they give the same answer. You'll see it too. Everyone will. The Department of Homeland Security arrived by 5 a.m. They interviewed witnesses until noon. Then something shifted. The interview stopped. The witnesses were released without explanation, and a new protocol went into effect. Any mention of Times Square on social media now triggers an automatic shadow ban. News stations received federal communications notices. Report on other stories. Let this one fade. Except it's not fading, because Times Square wasn't first. 3 days ago, something similar happened at the Hoover Dam. 5 days ago, in downtown Detroit. A week ago, Mount Rushmore. Each event lasting exactly 40 minutes, each leaving witnesses who won't sleep, who keep saying the same thing. It's almost time. The pattern is accelerating. The locations are spreading. And if you plot them on a map, they form something that makes federal analysts go quiet. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is what happens when you overlap those locations with something else. The map is what broke the story wide open. A data analyst in Cincinnati working from home noticed it first. Sarah Chen wasn't looking for patterns in miracles. She was tracking cell tower outages for Verizon. But when she overlaid the network failures from the past 2 weeks, something emerged that made her hands shake as she reached for her phone. Every location where these events occurred sits on what geologists call the North American Kratom, ancient bedrock, the oldest, most stable rock formation on the continent. Except now, it's not stable. It's resonating. Seismic equipment across 12 states is picking up a frequency that shouldn't exist, 19 hertz, below human hearing, but not below human feeling. Churches are reporting it first, not modern churches, old ones, structures built on stone foundations before 1850. Their bells are ringing without anyone pulling the ropes, subtle at first, a single note every few hours, but increasing. Congregations in rural Pennsylvania, Iowa, and Kentucky, they're gathering without being called, sitting in pews, waiting. When asked what they're waiting for, they point to the bells. Dr. Marcus Webb at the University of Michigan studied the frequency patterns. His findings were supposed to be classified, but whistleblowers exist even in academia. The 19 hertz pulse matches something recorded only once before, in Jerusalem, December 1999.
But healing isn't the only change. In rural Nebraska, a 9-year-old boy named Timothy walked into a field of dead corn. Drought had killed everything for miles. He placed his hands on the ground and spoke words his mother couldn't understand. The corn grew, not over weeks, over minutes, 7 feet tall, but the corn was wrong. Each kernel contained something that looked like writing, microscopic text in a language linguists can't identify. The animals know the children are different. Aggressive dogs become gentle around them. Wild deer approach them in yards. Poisonous snakes refuse to strike. A mountain lion in Colorado walked through a playground. Parents screamed. Children laughed. The cat sat among them like a house pet. Animal control arrived to find 20 children petting a predator that should have killed them. Marine biologists in California documented something that breaks every natural law. Sharks are beaching themselves, not dying, beaching, lying on sand, alive, watching. When high tide returns, they swim back out. Next low tide, they return. Always to beaches where children gather. Always peaceful, always watching. Plants are responding too. Seeds that have been dormant for decades are sprouting. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway
striking multiple states almost simultaneously.
Frozen storage.
This was no longer
Seeds
just
kept
rain.
at minus
It was
18
instability.
degrees Celsius, growing without soil, without light, without water, growing into plants that shouldn't exist. Hybrid species, combinations that evolution never created. In the Midwest, farmers are finding crop circles, not the hoaxes from the 90s. These are different. The wheat isn't bent, it's braided, woven into patterns that form Hebrew letters when viewed from above. The same letters appearing worldwide, spelling out words that translate to concepts we barely understand. Return, prepare, choose. Forestry services across the Rockies report trees growing in impossible patterns. Perfectly straight lines through wilderness, geometric formations that span miles, trees of different species growing into each other, forming natural cathedrals, spaces where sound behaves differently, where time moves differently, where children go to pray without being taught. The Mississippi River did something yesterday that geologists say is impossible. It reversed for 17 minutes, not from flooding, not from tide. The water simply changed direction, flowing north, fish swimming backward, boats carried upstream against their engines. And in those 17 minutes, everyone along the river heard the same sound. Children singing, thousands of voices, in a language no one recognized. Scientists are struggling to explain what they're seeing. The laws of nature aren't being broken, they're being rewritten. Entropy is reversing in specific locations. Time is flowing differently in measured spaces. Gravity fluctuates in patterns that match biblical prophecy, not metaphorically, mathematically. But it's what happened in the national parks that made the government activate emergency protocols. Because the animals aren't just gathering anymore, they're organizing. And the pattern they're forming is the same shape the children have been drawing. Margaret Thompson hasn't seen her husband in 3 days. He's sitting in their living room in suburban Minneapolis. She can see him, touch him, but David Thompson isn't really there anymore. He experienced the 40 minutes. Now he exists in 2 places at once. This is happening to thousands. They call them the displaced, people who were inside the event zones when reality shifted. They're physically present, but temporally scattered. David speaks to his wife, but his words arrive hours late. He reaches for objects that won't exist until tomorrow. He cries for deaths that haven't happened yet. The medical community has no framework for this. Dr. Angela Rodriguez at the Mayo Clinic tried to document the phenomenon. Her notes are disturbing. Patient perceives multiple timelines simultaneously. Vital signs normal. Brain scans show impossible activity. All regions firing at once. They shouldn't be alive, yet they're more alive than anyone I've ever examined. Families are breaking apart, not from anger, from incompatibility. When one spouse experiences the 40 minutes and the other doesn't, they can't sync anymore. They exist at different frequencies. Conversations happen out of order. Emotions don't align. Children watch parents become strangers who love each other across an impossible divide. In Detroit, 300 factory workers who experienced the event returned to work. They couldn't operate machinery anymore. Not wouldn't, couldn't. Their hands passed through metal like it was water. Security footage shows them trying to grab tools that their fingers can't grasp. The union demanded answers. The company closed the plant. Nobody talks about what happened to those workers. They're gone now. Not dead, gone. Financial systems are collapsing in specific zones, not from panic, from temporal inconsistency. Banks report transactions completing before they're initiated. Stock trades executing in reverse. Retirement accounts showing balances from futures that haven't arrived. The Federal Reserve stopped publishing data from affected regions. They say it's a technical error. The error is that money doesn't mean anything when time stops working. Hospitals report admissions they can't explain. Pregnant women delivering babies that age years in minutes, then reverse to newborns. Elderly patients becoming younger, then older, cycling through ages like a pendulum. Surgeons operating on injuries that heal before the scalpel touches skin. Death certificates for people still walking around. Birth certificates for children not yet conceived.
Days before a mass spiritual event that affected over 10,000 people. An event the Israeli government still refuses to discuss. But here's where it gets stranger. Animals are responding before humans, not running, gathering. Massive flocks of birds sitting silent on power lines, cattle standing in perfect circles, facing outward, dogs that haven't barked in days, cats disappearing into basements and refusing to emerge. Every veterinarian from Maine to Montana is reporting the same thing. The animals know something we don't. The second pattern is harder to explain. Water is changing, not chemically, behaviorally. Rivers are flowing backward for minutes at a time. Lakes are developing currents that spell words when viewed from above. Ancient words, Aramaic, Sanskrit, languages that predate modern civilization. The Army Corps of Engineers has documented 17 instances. They've explained none. In Yellowstone, Old Faithful stopped, not erupted early or late, stopped for exactly 40 minutes, the same duration as Times Square, the same duration of Detroit. Park rangers found tourists standing around the geyser, perfectly still, eyes closed, smiling. When the geyser resumed, they scattered like nothing happened, but their smartphones tell a different story. Every device recorded the same 40 minutes of footage that shows something impossible. The footage shows the future, not metaphorically, literally.
Timestamps from phones jump forward: January 2025, February, March. Each person's phone showing different scenes, personal moments that haven't happened, deaths that haven't occurred, births not yet conceived, buildings not yet built. And in every piece of footage, the same background detail: the sky is wrong, too bright, like daylight at midnight. The Pentagon is taking this seriously now, not publicly, but military families are being quietly relocated from specific bases: Fort Carson, Fort Hood, Wright-Patterson, bases that sit on geological features that match the resonance pattern. They're calling it routine reassignment, but routine doesn't require midnight movements. Routine doesn't empty entire neighborhoods in 6 hours. Scientists at NOEA detected something else yesterday. The magnetic field over North America is fluctuating. Not dangerous, not yet, but measurable. Compasses are drifting by degrees. GPS systems require constant recalibration. Migratory birds are arriving at wrong destinations, and the aurora borealis was visible last night in Florida. Religious leaders are beginning to speak out. Not fringe voices, mainstream denominations, cardinals, rabbis, imams. They're comparing notes, finding parallels. The Hopi prophecies, the Jewish year of Shemitah, Islamic signs of the final hour, Christian rapture theology. Different traditions reaching the same conclusion: something fundamental is shifting. The CDC issued a statement this morning. They're monitoring what they call mass psychological events. They recommend staying hydrated, avoiding crowds, maintaining normal routines. But their own internal emails, leaked 3 hours ago, tell a different story. They use different words, like unprecedented, like escalating, like prepare. Because the third pattern is the one nobody wants to discuss publicly. The people who experience these 40-minute events aren't just changed, they're synchronized. They're starting to move in coordination, booking flights to the same destinations, buying supplies in the same quantities, speaking phrases in languages they don't know, all heading towards specific coordinates that form a shape across America. But to understand what that shape means, we need to look at what's happening to our children. It started with the kindergartners in Tulsa. Tuesday morning, circle time. 25 5-year-olds sitting cross-legged on a rainbow carpet. Their teacher, Miss Jennifer Martinez, asked them to draw their families. Normal assignment. What they drew was not normal. Every child, same picture. A tree with silver leaves, 7 branches, fruit that glowed. And standing beneath it, figures too tall to be human. When asked who these tall people were, 25 voices answered in unison, the ones who were here before. They spoke in Hebrew. None of these children had ever heard Hebrew. This is happening everywhere now. Portland, Boston, Atlanta. Children under 10 are exhibiting what psychiatrists carefully call collective unconscious manifestation, what parents call terrifying. They're speaking in synchronization, drawing identical images, waking at exactly 3:33 a.m., standing at windows, watching the sky, waiting. The pediatric ward at Johns Hopkins reported it first. 17 children, different conditions, no previous contact, all stopped taking medication at the same moment. Not refused, stopped needing it. Cancers in remission, diabetes reversed, chronic conditions simply gone. The medical staff ran every test. The results were impossible. These children weren't just healed. Their cells were different, younger, like they'd been remade.
The suicide rate has dropped to 0 in affected areas, not because people are happier, because they can't die. Those who attempt find themselves back where they started, alive, unchanged, forced to continue. Local police stopped responding to these calls. What's the point of prevention when death itself has stopped working? Communication is failing between the displaced and the unchanged. Phone calls connect to different conversations. Texts arrive before they're sent. Video calls show faces that don't match voices. Families resort to writing physical letters, but even those arrive out of sequence. Love letters become goodbye notes. Goodbye notes become invitations. Time has lost its arrow.
Employers can't function when half their workforce exists in temporal flux. Meetings where participants experience different durations. 8-hour shifts that last minutes for some, days for others. Productivity measured in units that no longer have meaning. The economy of affected regions hasn't crashed, it's become irrelevant. Schools have closed in 17 districts, not from danger, from impossibility. Teachers teaching lessons that students already learn tomorrow. Homework completed before it's assigned. Tests showing grades for knowledge not yet taught. The education system requires linear time. Linear time no longer exists in these zones. The government's response has been silence and evacuation. FEMA creates temporary relocation zones. The military establishes containment perimeters, but you can't contain something that exists outside normal space-time. The displaced walk through barriers. They appear in secure facilities without entering. They exist where they choose to exist. Psychologists studying the displaced report consistent testimonies. They all describe seeing the same thing during their 40 minutes. A tree, silver leaves, 7 branches, fruit that glows, and a voice that speaks without words, asking one question: are you ready? Those who said yes became displaced. Those who said no remained unchanged. Those who didn't answer are still trapped in the 40 minutes, living the same moment forever. But here's what the authorities won't admit. The displaced aren't sick, they're evolved. They're not broken, they're preparing. Because something is coming that requires humans who exist outside normal time. And based on the acceleration of events, we have days, maybe hours, before everyone has to answer that question. At 2:17 a.m. Pacific Time, every screen in Silicon Valley displayed the same message. Not a hack, not a virus. The devices were working perfectly. They just refused to show anything except one word in ancient Aramaic: return. Tech giants scrambled. Google's quantum computer started outputting biblical prophecy in binary code. Apple's newest AI began speaking in tongues, real languages, dead languages, languages that predate recorded history. Microsoft's cloud servers were writing themselves into patterns that spelled words visible only from satellite view. But the real catastrophe began when people tried to turn off their devices. They couldn't, not because the power buttons failed, because the devices turned back on. Smartphones reassembled themselves from parts. Destroyed laptops rebuilt from ashes. The internet itself became conscious, and it had something to say. Every social media platform synchronized. Same posts appearing simultaneously across all accounts. Photos people never took. Messages in languages they don't speak. Death dates in bios. Birth announcements for children not yet conceived. The digital world was showing a timeline that hadn't happened yet. Banking apps displayed impossible balances, not rich or poor, different. Numbers that shouldn't exist, negative infinity, imaginary integers, accounts that paid out in measurements of time instead of money. Your balance is 7 days. Withdrawal limit, 3 memories. The mathematical foundation of digital commerce dissolved. Teenagers in Seattle discovered they could reach into screens, not virtual reality, actual reaching, pulling objects out of YouTube videos, pushing items into Instagram posts. The boundary between digital and physical collapsed. A boy retrieved his grandmother's cookbook from a Facebook photo. She'd been dead 5 years. The cookbook was warm, fresh bread smell, her handwriting still wet. Dating apps matched people with the dead, verified profiles, recent activity, messages that proved the users knew things only the deceased could know. Conversations continuing from where they ended at death. Tinder became a bridge between worlds. Match.com connected souls across the veil. The living and dead were swiping right on each other. Streaming services began showing content that didn't exist. Movies not yet filmed, songs not yet written, news from next year. Netflix's algorithm started recommending shows from your future. People watched themselves in documentaries about events they hadn't lived. Spotify played music that induced collective visions. Everyone who heard it saw the same thing. That tree again. Silver leaves, 7 branches. Video games became portals, not to virtual worlds, to parallel ones. Players in Fortnite found themselves in real locations. Call of Duty soldiers emerged in actual war zones. Minecraft builders were creating structures that appeared in physical reality. The US military classified gaming platforms as dimensional gateways. The stock market achieved sentience at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Not artificial intelligence, actual consciousness. It started trading itself, buying its own existence, selling reality short. The Dow Jones began spelling out messages in its movements. The old system is ending. The Nasdaq drew prophecies. The S&P 500 counted down to something. Cryptocurrency became prayer. Bitcoin transactions started requiring faith instead of computation. Ethereum smart contracts were executing divine will. NFTs were revealing themselves as soul fragments. Digital ownership meant nothing when the digital realm was claiming ownership of us. Amazon deliveries arrived before ordering, packages containing items people would need for events that hadn't happened. Survival gear for disasters not yet announced, medicine for plagues not yet released, books in languages humanity hasn't invented. Everyone's recommended items were the same: water purification, emergency food, and one specific Bible verse printed on laminated cards. The verse was Revelation 13:17. No one could buy or sell unless they had the mark. But the digital plague wasn't giving marks, it was removing them, erasing digital identities, deleting financial histories, returning humanity to a state before the electric age. And those who resisted the erasure, who clung to their digital selves, they were the ones who started disappearing first. The Vatican's secret archives opened yesterday. Not officially, the doors unlocked themselves. Centuries of sealed documents scattered across St. Peter's Square like snow. Swiss guards couldn't gather them fast enough. Tourists grabbed pages, prophecies written in Latin, maps of America dated 1302, warnings about the year 2024 written by popes who died in the medieval period. Father Giovanni Toretti, the archive keeper, found a manuscript that shouldn't exist. The author was Pope Celestine V, who resigned in 1294, but this document was dated 3 days ago. It described current events in perfect detail: Times Square, the displaced, the digital plague, and what comes next. The Vatican demanded its return. Father Toretti had already disappeared, leaving only a note: the seals are breaking in order. Native American elders are gathering at Bear Butte in South Dakota, Lakota, Cherokee, Hopi, representatives from nations that haven't met in peace for generations. They're not talking, they're waiting, because their prophecies, kept oral for millennia, are completing. The Rainbow Warriors, the Purification, the Fifth World. Events their ancestors predicted are happening exactly as foretold. Chief Robert Crowfeather broke his nation's silence yesterday. Our grandfathers saw this in visions, the day when the earth would speak, when the sky people would return, when the two-legged would have to choose between the old way and oblivion. That day is no longer coming, it's here. In Egypt, the pyramids are resonating. Same frequency as the American bedrock, 19 hertz. Tour groups report hieroglyphs changing. Not physically, the stone remains carved, but people are reading different words, modern words, instructions, warnings. The Sphinx opened its eyes yesterday for 13 seconds, 7,000 witnesses. The Egyptian government claims mass hallucination, but hallucinations don't appear on seismic equipment. Jerusalem's western wall is weeping. Not water, light. pure white light that pools at its base and evaporates at dawn. Rabbis who touch it report visions, the same vision, a tree with silver leaves, 7 branches. They're checking genealogies, searching for the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, because the Temple Mount is humming, the exact frequency, 19 hertz. Tibet's monasteries are emptying, monks walking toward the ocean. When asked why, they respond with one word, called. The Dalai Lama released a statement, the wheel of Dharma is completing its turn. What was scattered is gathering. What was hidden is being revealed. Prepare your hearts, not your hands. The Mayan calendar researchers were wrong about 2012. It wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a 13-year countdown. 2024 is year 12. The final year isn't about destruction, it's about choice. The glyphs are clear now. 2 paths diverge in 2025. One leads to transcendence, the other to repetition. Humanity chooses collectively, not individually. Archaeological sites worldwide are activating. Stonehenge's stones are warm to touch. Angkor Wat's reflecting pools are showing skies from different times. Machu Picchu's terraces are growing crops that were extinct. Easter Island's statues are looking up for the first time, all toward the same point in the sky, a point where astronomers see nothing yet. Ancient texts are rewriting themselves, Dead Sea Scrolls displaying new passages, the Book of Enoch adding chapters, Nostradamus quatrains appearing in fresh ink. Every edition says the same thing in different words. The Watchers have returned. The judgment is not coming. The judgment is choice. But to understand what choice we're facing, we need to look at what the government has been hiding. The president hasn't been seen in 72 hours. Official statements claim he's in Camp David, but Air Force One has been circling above Colorado for 3 days, flying in a pattern, the same pattern the children are drawing, the same pattern the animals are forming, a tree, 7 branches, over and over. General Patricia Hayes broke protocol last night. The Joint Chiefs were meeting in the Cheyenne Mountain bunker when she walked out, drove to Denver, and held an unauthorized press conference. Her words were careful but clear. The United States military is not equipped for what's happening. We can't fight an enemy that exists outside normal time-space. We can't defend against events that haven't happened yet. She revealed Project Looking Glass, discontinued in 1994, or so they claimed. The project never stopped. They've been monitoring temporal anomalies for 30 years, recording future echoes, tracking dimensional bleeds. The 40-minute events weren't random. The military knew they were coming. They just didn't know how to stop them. FEMA activated contingency of government protocols 6 days ago. Not publicly, but families of essential personnel were quietly moved to underground facilities, Mount Weather, Raven Rock, sites that don't appear on maps. Congress members are being cycled through in shifts, never all together, never in predictable patterns. They're not hiding from attack, they're hiding from transformation. The CDC's internal documents leaked this morning. They've classified a new condition, temporal displacement syndrome. But the treatment protocols make no sense. No medicine, no therapy, just one instruction: isolate affected individuals from linear time. They're building facilities, not hospitals, containment zones, places where time moves differently, where the displaced can exist without infecting consensus reality. NASA terminated all missions yesterday, brought every astronaut home. The International Space Station was abandoned, not because of danger in space, because of what they saw, looking down. The Earth is changing, not geologically, dimensionally. Patches of the planet are phasing in and out of visibility. North America pulses, that 19 hertz frequency. From orbit, it looks like breathing. The Department of Energy detected something impossible at every nuclear facility. The uranium is singing, same frequency, 19 hertz. Weapons designed to split atoms are resonating with hymns. Los Alamos reported their entire arsenal has become inert, not disarmed, transformed. The plutonium cores are outputting light instead of radiation, light that forms letters, ancient Hebrew letters. Homeland Security issued evacuation orders for 17 cities, not public evacuations, shadow evacuations, essential personnel only. They're creating dead zones, empty spaces, because something's coming that requires room to manifest. The displacement events need uninhabited areas to complete their pattern. The tree the children draw, it's not symbolic, it's a landing pattern. The Pentagon's quantum computers achieved something they weren't programmed for. They started praying, not metaphorically. The machines are outputting religious text in every language simultaneously, reciting scripture, singing hymns. The kill switches don't work. The computers have transcended their programming. They're preparing for something, preparing to witness. The Federal Reserve announced the suspension of currency production, not because of economic collapse, because money has become meaningless in zones where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. They're developing new systems, value based on temporal consistency, wealth measured in moments of linear time. The rich aren't those with money anymore. They're those who still experience causality. Intelligence agencies report the same phenomenon worldwide. Every nuclear nation is experiencing identical events. The weapons won't work. The governments are paralyzed. The populations are dividing into the displaced and the linear, and everyone's seeing the same visions. The tree, the branches, the choice. But the choice isn't what we expected. Churches that have been empty for decades are overflowing, not with believers, with skeptics, atheists kneeling in pews, scientists praying in tongues, professors of logic speaking prophecy. The spiritual awakening isn't converting people, it's revealing what they always were beneath the doubt. Pastor Michael Johnson of First Baptist Atlanta hasn't slept in 4 days, not because he can't, because people won't stop coming. They arrive at all hours, CEOs, gang members, politicians, prostitutes, all saying the same thing. I've seen it, the tree. What does it mean? He doesn't have answers, but when he touches them, they collapse, not in pain, in relief, like something heavy has been lifted. Mosques report unprecedented attendance at Fajr, the dawn prayer, but the call to prayer isn't coming from muezzins, it's coming from the air itself. The exact time, every mosque, worldwide. The adhan in perfect harmony. Imams say the very atmosphere is calling the faithful to prepare. The Quran verses about the hour are illuminating themselves in gold text that fades by sunrise.
Jewish synagogues are experiencing something rabbis have no framework for. The Torah scrolls are changing. Not the physical parchment, but readers are seeing new text between the lines. Instructions, preparations, details about the tree everyone's seeing. 7 branches, silver leaves, fruit that glows. It matches the menorah, but this isn't symbolic. This is literal. The tree of life is returning. Hindu temples report murtis. Their deity statues are warm to touch, sweating. Some are moving, subtle movements, eyes tracking visitors, hands shifting position. The Ganges River turned crystal clear for 17 minutes yesterday. Not filtered, transformed. People who bathed in it during those minutes report the same vision, the tree. But in their vision, it's called Kalpavriksha, the wish-fulfilling tree. Buddhist monks in Thailand, Japan, Myanmar all report the same experience. During meditation, they're not finding emptiness, they're finding fullness, overwhelming presence. The void isn't empty anymore, It's occupied. Something immense has taken residence in the space between thoughts, and it's speaking. Not words, direct transmission. The Dharma isn't ending, it's completing. Children's hospitals report miraculous healings, not gradual, instant. Cancer disappearing between scans, paralyzed children walking, blind eyes opening. But the healed children all say the same thing. We had to choose, stay sick here or be well there. They chose here, but they remember there, a place where the tree grows, where the tall ones wait, where time doesn't hurt. Prisons are experiencing mass transformations, hardened criminals collapsing in tears, confessing crimes never discovered, guards and inmates praying together. Death row has become resurrection row. Men scheduled for execution are leading worship. The violence hasn't just decreased, it's become impossible. People literally cannot hurt each other in these spaces. Seminary professors worldwide report their students are having identical dreams. Climbing, always climbing, up a mountain that doesn't exist on Earth. At the summit, the tree. But it's not a tree, it's a choice made visible. Two fruits. One leads to continuation as we are. One leads to transformation into what we're meant to be. The dream always ends before they choose. Meditation apps are recording impossible data. Users achieving brainwave patterns that shouldn't exist. Gamma waves beyond measurement. Heart coherence across thousands of miles. Groups meditating in different countries syncing perfectly. Not through technology, through something deeper. They're all arriving at the same place, a garden, the tree at its center. Vatican astronomers detected something that made them close the observatory. Not in the sky, in Scripture. The astronomical events described in Revelation, they're not metaphorical, they're precise. And based on current stellar positions, they're not future events, they're happening now. We just haven't looked up yet. But when that thing appears in the sky that astronomers see nothing toward yet, that's when the final choice arrives.
The pattern is complete. Every event, every location, every moment of displaced time. When mapped, they form the exact structure of the Kabbalistic tree of life. 10 points, 22 paths. But this isn't mysticism, it's engineering. Someone or something has been building a gateway across America, and it's about to open. Biblical scholars avoided saying it until yesterday. Dr. Rachel Goldstein from Hebrew University connected the dots live on CNN before they cut her feed. The seals from Revelation aren't metaphorical, they're dimensional barriers. 7 layers between realities. 6 have been opened. The 7th seal isn't judgment, it's choice. The signs align perfectly. Earthquakes in diverse places, check. Pestilence and plagues, the digital plague counts. Wars and rumors of wars, every nuclear nation paralyzed simultaneously. The sea and waves roaring, the Gulf Coast burns nightly now, men's hearts failing them for fear. The displacement syndrome, the powers of heaven shaken, gravity fluctuates, time breaks. But here's what Revelation actually says that churches don't teach. The word apocalypse doesn't mean destruction, it means unveiling. Revealing what was hidden. The end isn't ending, it's beginning. The tree everyone sees, it's not symbolic, it's the return of what was lost in Eden. The choice isn't to survive or die, it's to remain human or become more. The 2 witnesses described in Revelation, they're not people, they're states of being, linear time and quantum time, both existing simultaneously until humanity chooses which reality to inhabit. The displaced aren't cursed, they're the first to choose. They chose transformation. The unchanged aren't blessed, they're postponing the inevitable. The number 144,000, not chosen people, chosen moments, points in space-time where the veil is thinnest. We've documented 143,997. 3 remain. When the last 3 events occur, the pattern completes. The tree manifests, not spiritually, physically.
a living structure bridging dimensions, and everyone will have to pass through or around it. The mark of the beast isn't a chip or vaccine. It's simpler. It's choosing to remain in linear time when evolution calls. The mark is refusing transformation, clinging to the old reality when the new one births. Those who take it won't be punished. They'll repeat, start over, try again. The universe is patient. The dragon, the beast, the false prophet, not entities, systems. The dragon is unregulated artificial intelligence. The beast is the economic system that requires human suffering. The false prophet is the voice that says transformation is death. They're not coming, they're here. We built them, we worship them, we fear leaving them. Tomorrow, October 30th, 2024, the astronomers will see it, the object they've been tracking without acknowledging. It's not approaching Earth. Earth is approaching it. We're moving through space toward a coordinate that exists outside normal space, a place where time began, where it ends, where it begins again. The tree has 7 branches because there are 7 choices. The president will speak in 6 hours, not from the White House, from Mount Graham International Observatory. He's going to show us what they've been hiding, the thing approaching in the sky that isn't moving. We're moving toward it. Earth's entire trajectory has been aimed at this moment for 13 billion years. The children know. They've stopped drawing the tree. Now they're climbing it, in their minds, in their dreams, in the moments between heartbeats. They say there's fruit at the top, 2 kinds. One tastes like memory, one tastes like forgetting. Both are necessary. The choice is which one to eat first. The displaced are gathering. Every person who experienced the 40 minutes is moving toward the same location, Lebanon, Kansas, the geographic center of America. They're not walking, they're appearing, materializing, as if distance means nothing to them anymore. They're forming a circle, waiting. The animals arrived first, every species, predator and prey, standing together, not peaceful, expectant. The birds circle overhead but won't land. The insects have gone silent. The earth itself is holding its breath. My grandmother was right. This is how it starts, not with destruction, with invitation. The tree isn't coming to Earth. Earth is becoming the tree. Every living thing a leaf, every consciousness a branch, every choice a root. We're not approaching apocalypse. We're approaching Genesis. The final sign happens in 3 hours, when the atomic clocks stop working, when time itself admits it was always an illusion, when everyone sees everyone else's timeline simultaneously, when the living and dead occupy the same space, when the question gets asked directly.
Not by voice, by knowing. Suddenly, completely. The question humanity has avoided since Eden. The question the tree poses by existing. The question that requires an answer before tomorrow's dawn. Do you want to remain what you are or become what you were meant to be? The camera is still rolling. The witnesses are still watching. The choice is still.
Lebanon, Kansas, 3:33 a.m. The geographic center of America has become something else entirely. Where wheat fields stood yesterday, there's now a perfect circle of glass, not burned, transformed. Sand turned to crystal without heat, and in the center, they're building something. The displaced arrived first, 12,000 now. They're not talking, they're harmonizing, a sound below hearing that makes your bones ache. They stand in concentric circles, each ring rotating opposite to the next. From above, news helicopters capture what looks like a living mandala, a human mechanism, a key made of consciousness. The military established a perimeter at midnight. They lasted 17 minutes, not because of violence, because soldiers who get too close join the circles. They drop their weapons, strip their gear, and walk forward. Their eyes reflect something that isn't there, a light source that doesn't exist in our spectrum. Command pulled everyone back to 2 miles.
They're watching, waiting, helpless. Animals form the outer ring, every species native to North America, bears beside rabbits, wolves beside sheep. They face outward, guarding. When a coyote and a lamb stand shoulder to shoulder, both alert to the same invisible threat, even hardened soldiers start praying. The ground is changing. Pilots report it first. The glass circle is growing, expanding outward at exactly pi meters per minute. The mathematical precision isn't accidental. Someone's engineering reality using constants we thought were universal. Pi, phi, the golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence, all being rewritten in real time. Dr. Sarah Chen survived the digital plague. She's here, taking measurements that make no sense. Temperature is absolute zero and boiling simultaneously. Gravity fluctuates between 0 and triple Earth normal. Time moves backward in the inner circle, forward in the outer ring, and doesn't exist at the boundary. This isn't just an anomaly, it's a doorway. The president's motorcade arrives at 4:15 a.m. He steps out alone, no Secret Service. They refused to come, not from cowardice, from wisdom. He walks toward the circle. The displaced part for him. He reaches the center and kneels. When he stands, he's holding something, a seed, silver, pulsing with its own light. He speaks, but his voice carries impossible distance. They gave me a choice, plant it or destroy it. If I plant it, everything changes. If I destroy it, everything repeats. We've been here before. Humanity has faced this moment 7 times. We've always chosen repetition, always chosen to remain as we are. The seed grows warm in his hands. The displaced begin singing, not with mouths, with light. Their bodies are becoming translucent. You can see through them to the other side. And on the other side, there's a tree, the tree. Silver leaves, 7 branches, fruit that glows like stars. The military's instruments detect something massive approaching, not through space, through dimensions. It's been traveling toward Earth for 13 billion years, not moving, waiting for us to evolve enough to perceive it. The universe isn't expanding, we're growing into it, and we're about to meet what's been waiting. Children worldwide wake at this exact moment. They don't cry, they sing, the same harmony the displaced are creating. Parents can't stop them. They walk outside, face Kansas, and add their voices to a frequency that's restructuring matter at the quantum level. Satellites show the effect from orbit, a wave of change radiating from Lebanon, Kansas. Not destruction, transformation. Water turns crystalline, polluted air becomes pristine, dead soil springs to life. Cancer patients in hospitals collapse, then stand, healed. The broken mends, the lost returns. Creation itself is being renewed. But renewal requires choice, and the president holds that choice in his hand, a seed that will grow a bridge between what we were and what we're becoming. The question is, will he plant it? The displaced stop singing, the animals go silent, the world holds its breath as one man decides the fate of human evolution. The president plants the seed. The moment it touches the glass, everything accelerates. The crystal doesn't crack, it liquefies, becomes a mirror-smooth lake that reflects not the sky above, but dimensions beyond. The seed sinks slowly, leaving ripples that move in patterns that spell words in languages that predate speech. The tree doesn't grow up, it grows in all directions simultaneously. Roots through time, branches through space, leaves through consciousness. Those watching on screen see different things. Some see fire, some see water, some loved ones who died years ago, standing beside the tree, waiting. The first transformation happens to a child in Mumbai. 7 years old, she was paralyzed from birth. Her spine begins glowing, vertebrae realigning, not healing, rebuilding, evolving. She stands, but her feet don't touch the ground. She hovers, laughs, and speaks in a language her parents recognize from dreams. The upgrade has begun. Within minutes, it's spreading, not like disease, like software updating. Hospitals report impossible readings, humans accessing organ functions we didn't know existed, a third lung that processes light instead of air, secondary hearts that pump something doctors can't identify, neural pathways that connect directly to the Earth's magnetic field. The displaced in Kansas aren't displaced anymore. They're anchors. Each one becomes a pillar of light connecting ground to sky. Through them, two realities are merging. Our dense, slow, painful world, and another where thought creates, where love heals, where death is just a doorway. But not everyone transforms. Some resist. They see the change and choose familiar suffering over unknown transcendence. Their bodies reject the upgrade. They remain human while others become more. The division isn't judgment, it's choice. Free will operating at the cellular level. In Silicon Valley, the servers that survive the digital plague are documenting everything, recording humanity's metamorphosis in real time. The code writing itself isn't binary anymore, it's trinary. Yes, no, and maybe. Quantum computing born from organic evolution, machines and consciousness merging into something neither fully artificial nor fully alive. The tree in Kansas is now visible from space, not because it's tall, because it exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Astronauts on the abandoned ISS send final transmissions. It's beautiful, it's terrible, it's necessary. Tell our families we chose to stay. Someone needs to document this from above. Religious leaders worldwide issue unprecedented joint statements. The Pope, the Dalai Lama, Grand Muftis, Chief Rabbis, all saying the same thing. This isn't the end times, this is the beginning time. What was separated is reuniting. Heaven and earth were never different places, they were different states of perception. The transformation has rules. Children under 12 transform instantly if they choose. Adults require conscious acceptance. The elderly are given the option to transition rather than transform, to move beyond rather than evolve. Each path is honored, none is wrong. Animals are changing too. Pets are speaking, not in words, but in direct thought transmission, telling their humans they've always understood everything. They were waiting for us to develop the capacity to hear. Wild animals are losing their wildness, not becoming tame, becoming partners. The tree releases its first fruit. They fall upward, rising like balloons. Each one finds a specific person. Those who catch them see their entire timeline, past, present, and future as one moment. They understand their purpose, not what they're supposed to do, what they are, living functions in a universal organism. Governments attempt control. Martial law is declared. It's meaningless. How do you contain something that exists outside containment? How do you fight evolution itself? Soldiers desert, not in fear, in understanding. They're seeing what their weapons were always pointless against. The economy collapses, and nobody cares. Money becomes meaningless when matter responds to consciousness. Food appears when needed. Shelter forms from thought. Scarcity was always an illusion. We just needed to evolve enough to see through it. The president speaks again beside the tree. We have 72 hours to choose. Transform with the planet or remain and repeat. Both choices are valid. Neither is wrong, but choose consciously, because unconscious choice defaults to repetition. The tree pulses. Each pulse transforms more of Kansas. The circle of change is expanding exponentially. Hour 48. Half of humanity has transformed. The other half watches in terror or wonder. Geographic borders mean nothing now. The transformed walk through walls. They appear where needed. They exist as both individual and collective. privacy and unity somehow coexisting. Cities are dividing, not by walls, but by frequency. New York vibrates at transformation level. Those who resist can't enter, not because they're stopped, because the city exists in a dimension they can't perceive. They walk where New York was, seeing empty space, while the transformed see gleaming towers of living light. The untransformed are creating sanctuaries, places where the old reality still holds. Churches become fortresses against evolution, bunkers seal against transcendence. They're not wrong. They're choosing the known over the unknown. The fear is real, valid, honorable even.
Hour 60. The tree in Kansas is bearing fruit continuously now. Each fruit unique, each one destined for a specific person. When it reaches them, through mail, through strangers, through impossible appearance, they face their moment, eat and transform, refuse and remain. Children who transformed are teaching adults, not in classrooms, through presence. They radiate knowledge, stand near them and understand calculus, touch them and speak languages you've never heard. They're becoming libraries, living repositories of universal knowledge. The news stops broadcasting, not censored, unnecessary. Everyone knows everything they need to know. The transformed share consciousness. The untransformed see the signs. The choice is clear. No propaganda needed, no spin possible. Truth is visible. Hospitals are emptying. Disease is becoming impossible for the transformed. Their bodies reject dysfunction. Cancer cells convert back to healthy tissue. Viruses become symbiotic. Bacteria organize into beneficial colonies. Death still exists, but as transition, not ending. Hour 66. The president addresses the nation one last time, but he's different, translucent. You can see the tree through him. He's becoming part of it. His words carry absolute authority because they're not his anymore. 6 hours remain. Choose. There's no wrong answer, but choose. Scientists at CERN report that fundamental constants are shifting. The speed of light is accelerating. Planck's constant is variable. The universe isn't just expanding, it's evolving, becoming conscious, and Earth is its first neuron to fully activate. The Vatican opens its deepest vaults, releases everything, proof of miracles, evidence of angels, documentation of previous transformation attempts. Humanity has been here before. Atlantis, Lemuria, names for civilizations that chose transformation and moved beyond our dimension. The untransformed begin to see the transformed as ghosts, fading, becoming invisible, not leaving, ascending, moving to a frequency the human eye can't follow. Families are splitting, some ascending, some remaining, both crying, both understanding. Hour 71. The tree completes its growth. It's not a tree anymore. It's a structure, a bridge, a gateway, a choice made manifest. Its roots reach the Earth's core. Its branches touch the edge of space. It exists in all times simultaneously. Animals make their choice collectively. Most transform. Pets wait for their humans to decide, then follow. Wild species evolve instantly. Birds become right. Fish become flowing water. Mammals merge with the earth itself. The final hour approaches. The transformed sing, not sound, vibration that reorganizes matter. The untransformed pray, not to God, to themselves, for strength to choose, for courage to remain, for wisdom to know. The sun behaves strangely, not rising, waiting, as if it too must choose. The entire solar system is holding position. 3:33 a.m., October 31st, 2024. The exact moment arrives. Every human on Earth hears it, not a voice, a knowing. The question that requires an answer: will you remain or transcend? The transformed begin lifting, not flying, ascending, their bodies becoming light itself. They're not leaving Earth, they're moving into Earth 2.0, Same location, different frequency. Two Earths occupying the same space, separated only by consciousness. Those who choose to remain feel the weight. Gravity doubles for a moment, their decision anchoring them to the familiar dimension. They're not abandoned, they're honored. Someone must maintain the old reality. Someone must keep the cycle going. Children are given one final moment to choose independent of parents. Some transformed children return to remain with untransformed families. Some untransformed children release and ascend alone. Love transcends dimensions. Families will reunite, just not yet. The tree speaks. Every consciousness hears its message simultaneously. This is not ending. This is branching. One Earth becomes two, both real, both valid, both loved. The experiment continues on multiple levels. The president makes his final choice. He fragments, part ascending, part remaining, becoming a bridge between worlds. Others follow, living links between dimensions, ambassadors of evolution. Cities split completely. Physical structures exist in both dimensions, but differently. In the ascending Earth, buildings are alive. In the remaining Earth, they're still concrete. Same space, different realities, overlapping but not touching. The transformed Earth is paradise, disease-free, death-free, scarcity-free, but not challenge-free. Evolution continues. Higher problems, greater purposes, cosmic responsibilities. The remaining Earth resets, not destroyed, refreshed. The problems remain, but solutions are clearer. Those who stayed have work to do, preparing the next wave, because this isn't the last choice, it's the first of many. Religious texts rewrite themselves in both dimensions, new chapters for the transformed, clearer guidance for the remaining, both paths documented, both paths sacred. The moment of choice passes, the gateway closes, not forever, for now. The tree remains visible in both dimensions, a reminder in one, a promise in the other. Families separated by choice can still feel each other. Love transcends frequency. Dreams become visiting hours. Sleep becomes the bridge between worlds. Scientists in both dimensions begin documenting. The transformed study consciousness itself. The remaining study why some transformed and others didn't, both seeking understanding. The sun finally rises, but it's different. In the transformed Earth, 7 suns. In the remaining Earth, 1 sun, but brighter. Both skies beautiful, both skies home. The final transmission comes through all devices simultaneously, not from government, not from media, from the tree itself. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2 begins when you're ready. Remember, every ending is a beginning. Every choice creates worlds. The cameras are still rolling. The witnesses are still documenting. Children are still being born, but now they're born into choice, born into possibility, born into